Warning, this podcast contains unfiltered logic, unlicensed sarcasm, and prolonged exposure to American values. Listener discretion is advised. If you're looking for safe spaces, government-approved narratives, or the kind of media that treats you like a child, this isn't it. What you're about to hear may cause sudden outbursts of laughter, involuntary fist pumps of patriotism, and a lingering suspicion that the people in charge don't actually have your best interests at heart. You've been warned, and you're still here? Good. Let's roll.
This is Data and Dissonance, the signal in the static, the antidote to corporate media groupthink, and the one show that turns your drive home into a steel cage match of ideas. This week, Trump and Putin met in Anchorage. No deals, no ceasefire, just optics and an invite to Moscow. And Monday, Zelensky lands in D.C., raising the stakes. Back home, the capital's federal takeover has turned into both a crackdown and a courtroom drama, with arrests piling up and Democrats crying foul. Add to that our usual chaos. Brian with the MAGA gospel, Daniel with his red string, Rachel with her black coffee, and our brand new progressive firebrand Skylar ready to recycle your arguments. Buckle up, let's go. All right, let's drag the panelists out of their natural habitats and into the chaos. First up, Brian, the man who treats a MAGA rally like Sunday service and owns more red hats than socks. He can turn a Trump speech into a sermon and a barbecue into foreign policy. Then there's Daniel, our conspiracy czar, with a corkboard full of red string and the belief that every headline is just a cover story for the real story. Next, Rachel, the independent voice of reason, the fact-checking referee, and the only one here who can stop the shouting with a single raised eyebrow. And new at the table, Skylar Bloom, messy bun, green scrunchie, tote bag, reusable water bottle, and enough progressive passion to turn every debate into a Greenpeace fundraiser. She thinks capitalism is a disease. Brian thinks she is the disease. And Daniel's already muttering about Davos. Welcome aboard, Skylar. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke thriller series, The Covenant Protocol and the Prophet Directive. Grit, action, and conspiracy that feels ripped from tomorrow's headlines. Book 3, Black Echo Rising, drops this December, so catch up now and be ready when the next chapter hits. Quick pit stop at the merch table before we dive in. First up, the Bitterroot Dark Roast. Strong, unapologetic, and guaranteed to wake you up faster than a CNN headline that accidentally tells the truth. This is the official fuel of No Safe Spaces Radio. Now, if coffee isn't your statement but your shirt is, grab the 1776 tea. Clean, bold, and a reminder that freedom never goes out of fashion, no matter how much the left wants to cancel it. And for the long haul, the 20-ounce matte tumbler keeps your coffee hot while the takes get hotter. Because nothing ruins a rant faster than cold coffee. Hit the store, stock the cart, and remember, every item keeps this show running independent, unfiltered, and unafraid. Anchorage wasn't a summit, it was a stage play. Putin flew halfway across the world for a handshake, Trump gave him a tight smile and not much else. And the press acted like world peace was supposed to be signed on the back of a napkin. No ceasefire, no concessions, no breakthrough. Just a grin from Putin, silence from Trump, and then the big headline, an invitation for Trump to visit Moscow. And now, here's the kicker. Zelensky lands in Washington Monday, and suddenly the stakes are real. So let's crack this open. Was this brilliant strategy, or just a free PR stunt for Putin? Brian, you've been smirking since I brought up Anchorage. Did Trump actually outplay Putin here, or are the critics right that Putin walked away with the optics win?
Outplayed, no question. Trump gave up nothing. Not an inch of land, not $1 in sanctions, not even a nod toward concessions. Putin got to smile for the cameras, sure, but Trump's the one who left with every bargaining chip still in his pocket. That's not a loss. That's how you build leverage.
So you're saying Trump was playing 4D chess while the media was busy playing Candy Crush? Fair enough. But let me press you on this. If optics don't matter, then why do dictators like Putin chase them so hard? Isn't standing next to an American president already a win for him?
Optics are short-term candy, strategy is stake. Putin needed that photo just to look like a big shot back home. Trump let him pose, then walked away with the leverage that actually matters. It's the same reason Trump built skyscrapers while his critics built excuses. He knows the difference between headlines and history.
All right, Brian, calling Putin's grin a happy meal while Trump's sitting down to filet mignon. Let's see if Rachel thinks you're full of steak or just full of, well, you know. Rachel, Brian says silence was strategy. You say?
I say silence without substance is drift. Optics do matter, and Putin walked away looking like he was on equal footing with the American president. That's legitimacy you can't buy. And until we see concrete results, that silence looks less like strategy and more like missed opportunity.
So in other words, you're saying Trump's poker face looks a lot like napping at the table. Got it, but let me push this further. Zelensky's landing in D.C. on Monday. If you were in Trump's ear, what would you tell him to do to make this summit more than just theater?
Bring Ukraine directly into the process. No more two-man shows. If peace is the goal, Zelensky has to be in the room shaping it. Otherwise, these meetings are just empty photo ops that leave Ukraine sidelined in a war that's literally on their soil.
All right, so Rachel wants Zelensky at the poker table. Brian wants him as the caddy. Daniel, I already know you think the whole table is rigged by the Illuminati, so let's just go there. Daniel, Putin invites Trump to Moscow, and the press loses their collective minds. What's really happening here?
The invite was the tell. This wasn't about peace talks. It was about signaling. Putin wanted to show his oligarchs that Russia's still a player, and Trump gave him just enough rope to do it. Anchorage was theater, but the real plot is about Arctic resources, energy corridors, and trade deals that never make the front page.
So you're saying while the rest of us saw a handshake, you saw a Costco membership for pipelines. Fair enough. But let me hit you with this. If it's all about backroom deals, does that mean Zelensky's DC trip Monday is already irrelevant?
Not irrelevant, just misdirection. Zelensky's visit will be the public performance while the real negotiations continue out of sight. Watch what doesn't get said in Washington. That'll tell you more than all the photo ops combined.
Daniel's basically saying we're all extras in a spy movie and the script's hidden in an oil barrel. Skylar, let's see if you can bring us back down to earth, or at least to a recycling bin. Skylar, first summit at the table for you. Everyone's talking poker, pipelines, propaganda. What did you see?
I saw theater, plain and simple. And the most glaring omission was climate. Anchorage isn't just a backdrop, it's ground zero for warming. While two egos were flexing for cameras, Arctic ice was melting. Indigenous communities were losing land, and those flyovers everyone cheered were spewing carbon into the sky. You can't talk peace while ignoring the planet.
All right, so Putin wants territory, Trump wants leverage, and Skylar wants a compost pile at the summit. Let me press you again. If you had the mic in Anchorage, what would you demand got on the agenda?
Climate accountability. Real commitments to cutting military emissions, funding for communities on the front lines of climate change, and a recognition that no deal matters if the planet's on fire. Without that, everything else is empty posturing.
Okay, so Skylar would have turned Anchorage into a Greenpeace fundraiser. Brian's about to pass out. Daniel's scribbling oil maps, and Rachel's sipping her black coffee, wondering why she signed up for this. Anchorage gave us no deal, but it gave us plenty to chew on. Monday in D.C. is when the real test begins. Back in the swamp, Trump's federal takeover of D.C. has turned the Capitol into both a crime lab and a political circus. Since August 7th, we've seen over 240 arrests, nearly 40 firearms seized, and National Guard units stationed like it's a movie set for Red Dawn Beltway Edition. Supporters are pointing at results. Arrests, guns, encampments cleared. Critics are screaming authoritarian power grab. Democrats in Congress are pushing a resolution to block it. Lawsuits are flying, and the optics of soldiers patrolling the mall have CNN anchors sweating like they just lost power to their teleprompters. So let's cut through it. Is this bold leadership, or is Trump flexing federal muscle for the cameras? Brian, you love this kind of story. Be real. Is this Trump restoring law and order, or is it just good optics with a side of showmanship?
It's restoring law and order, plain and simple. 240 arrests, 38 illegal guns off the street, encampments cleared. That's real results, not a press release. People in D.C. have been begging for safety, and Trump delivered it in less than 2 weeks. That's called leadership, and it's why the left hates him, because he actually fixes problems instead of writing reports about them.
So you're saying the guards handing out safety like Costco samples while the Dems are standing in the corner with clipboards. But let me push you. Doesn't this trample DC's home rule? You MAGA guys are all about states' rights. Until it's blue cities, then suddenly it's okay?
Home rule means nothing if the rulers aren't ruling. DC's leadership let the city rot. If you can't keep carjackings from happening on the steps of Congress, you forfeited your right to run the show. Trump didn't sideline them. They sidelined themselves by failing.
All right. Brian says DC leaders are benched for incompetence. Knowing you, you probably want Trump to federalize your HOA, too. Rachel, Brian's fired up, but you're the process hawk. Did Trump cross the line here?
Yes, the arrests are real, the seizures are real, but results don't erase precedent. DC didn't ask for this, and Trump bypassed its elected officials. That sets a dangerous example. If the president can just declare an emergency and take over local policing, where does that power stop? You can cheer results now, but what happens when that power is in the hands of someone you don't trust?
So you're basically saying Brian's cheering the score but ignoring the rule book. Fair point. But tell me this. If you were in charge, how would you fix DC's crime without this federal sledgehammer?
Start with targeted investments, increase local policing capacity, fund community programs, and give DC leaders support instead of sidelining them. Federal help should be collaboration, not takeover. That way you get safety and accountability.
Rachel wants collaboration, Brian wants occupation. If we let you two design policy together, DC would end up with cops handing out therapy coupons. Daniel, lawsuits are flying, guard troops on the ground, CNN acting like tanks are about to roll down Constitution Avenue. What's the real play here?
The real play is conditioning. This is a test run. Normalize boots on the ground in the capital, then expand it. Chicago, LA, anywhere they declare a crisis. The arrests are just props, a staged show to sell federal policing to the public. It's Patriot Act 2.0, only this time it comes with Humvees parked by the Lincoln Memorial.
So, in your world, the guard's not just stopping crime. They're beta testing the new world order. Got it. But let me ask you this. If you're right, what should people be watching for Monday when the lawsuits start getting heard?
Watch the language. If the courts uphold broad executive authority to define emergencies, the precedent is set. That's the key. This isn't about DC. It's about whether the executive can rewrite local governance with a pen stroke.
So, according to Daniel, this isn't Law and Order. It's the pilot episode for America, the military police state. I can already hear Skylar warming up a TED Talk about injustice. Skylar, let's bring you in. Clearing homeless camps, rounding up migrants. Is this safety or cruelty dressed up as policy?
It's cruelty. Arresting people doesn't fix root causes. Clearing encampments doesn't solve homelessness, it just hides it. And calling it safety, while criminalizing poverty, is not leadership, it's scapegoating the most vulnerable to score political points. The Guard isn't trained to solve poverty, they're trained for war. And that's what this looks like, a war on the poor.
So Trump's crime plan is war crimes, according to Skylar. Brian's rolling his eyes so hard they might get stuck. But let me ask you, if not this, then what? What's your solution for people afraid to walk down their own streets?
Invest in housing, education, and healthcare. Crime is the symptom, not the disease. You don't cure poverty with handcuffs. You cure it by giving people opportunity. Until leaders face that, every crackdown is just another headline.
All right, so Brian wants the guard on every corner. Skylar wants free housing for every corner, and Daniel wants us to check under every corner for FEMA camps. Rachel's the only one who probably still believes in corners at all. All right, panel. We've covered Putin, Trump, and the DC fallout. Let's close it out with your final thoughts. What's the one takeaway listeners should carry into the week?
Here's the bottom line. Strength matters. Whether it's Trump standing his ground in Anchorage or the National Guard holding the line in DC, we're seeing a return to order. It's not always pretty, and the media hates it, but America isn't a therapy session. It's a nation. If you don't like strong leadership, there's always Canada. I'd rather have Trump stare down Putin than watch Biden trip over a sandbag. This is what America first looks like, and it's about time.
My takeaway is that strength without strategy is just noise. Sure, Trump didn't cave, but he didn't deliver either. And that's dangerous. Same with DC. You can restore order, but if you don't fix the root causes, it'll erupt again. America needs leadership that can do both. Draw hard lines and also build bridges. Otherwise, we're just running in circles while the world watches.
Final thought: don't get distracted by the headlines. Watch the shadows. Anchorage wasn't about Putin's grin, it was about Arctic power plays. DC wasn't just a crackdown, it was a warning about surveillance and control. The media spins stories about Trump's tone and protest optics, but the real story is always in the moves they don't want you to see. Connect the dots, and you'll see a bigger picture they'd rather hide.
My final thought is simple. Politics as usual isn't working. People are tired of endless wars, tired of being told to pick between two broken systems. Anchorage and DC both show that power games come first, people come last. I'll keep saying it, real progress means investing in people, protecting freedoms, and finding solutions that actually lift communities instead of just scoring points. We need less theater, more humanity.
Strong words all around. Here's mine. America's at a crossroads. One path is strength without compassion. The other is compassion without strength. Neither works alone. The challenge is finding leaders and a people who can balance both without selling out what makes us who we are. That's what we'll keep fighting for on this show, to speak truth, stir thought, and never let the noise drown out the signal. Thanks for tuning in to Data and Dissonance. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. sharp, because free speech doesn't clock out. And remember, speak truth, stir thought.